You are much closer to making your dent in social media than you think. So, why should you listen to me? If you don't know who I am, it just hit 850,000 subscribers on YouTube. Founder at Den Makers, and I have over 10 years on YouTube with 10,000 videos published. We just did over 20,000 pieces of content across all social media and 250 million views. This used to be me. For 4 years, my channel was stuck, and there were so many times, so many other creators that would create their channel, and they only started their channel like a year before I did, and they would blow up, and I used to see this all the time. So I knew that I had to figure out a way to stop banging my head against the wall. But what I had to do is I had to come up with a way to kind of break free from being stuck. So for 4 years, I was stuck. There are really only 3 steps, not 6. I just wanted to use a picture of Kevin Bacon. So the steps are build a knowledge base, dig for gold, share, and then repeat. So that's what we're going to talk about. Building a knowledge base. This is the biggest bang for the buck thing that I've ever done in my entire life. So I think everybody should at least start with this. Even when I first started building a knowledge base, which I'm going to explain to everybody what that is in just a second, I was only doing it for personal development, and then I started wanting to grow my channel, and so I implemented this. So what a knowledge base is just a note-taking app, and you can see here, it's kind of hard to see, but there are 2 notes on that note right there. I use an app called Obsidian, and it's free. And so what I do is I learn one new thing every single day. It takes about 10 minutes. I like to watch my videos on like triple speed as well, so I think triple speed is a good option. And then I learned something. The important part there is have an experience. We're going to touch on that in just a minute as well. And then I document it. So that second lower note is where I document my experience. And so this is great for those of you that don't know what you're going to talk about, or if you feel like you are always repeating yourself. How many people that create content repeat themselves, right? Which is great for branding purposes. I actually think people overestimate how many times someone needs to hear something. So you should be repeating yourself, but it's great to have kind of like a different story. So just underline the experience part of that. You want to make sure that you're having experience. When I started, again, when I just did it to grow my YouTube channel, and I would go to YouTube every single day, and I would learn from a YouTube expert, and then I would just implement what they learned for the day, what I learned from them for the day, and then I came back and documented it. But this is powerful in other ways as well. I now use all that information that I learned for courses, for DENT Makers, which is a startup I just launched, and for everything. So it's not just for content. It's good for pretty much everything. So this also gives you never-ending ideas, which is really important. Sometimes I used to bang my head against the wall trying to come up with an idea. I wouldn't know what to do, but now with this, I can just look at my knowledge base. I know exactly what I'm going to talk about or whatever I need to talk about. So there's some other things as well that you can include in your knowledge base. I think everybody should write down every single story they have from their life. We're going to talk about having a timeline in a second, but I started thinking back to when I was 0 years old, and I tried to remember how many stories I had or any stories about my life, and I just document them right in Obsidian. I just use a tag. People come up with the crazy tagging structures for their notes and everything. I just use simple tagging system. I actually use the little plant emoji, right? So I'm a big fan of the plant emoji. Plant notes are notes that I'm working on, but also for tagging, I don't use a lot of tags except for my personal stories. Personal stories come in handy more than you would think. If you need like a long Instagram post, if you need a description for something, always good to kind of put those things in there. Also important for you spiritual people out here is opinions. I think that as a spiritual community, we should have opinions in the content that we're creating and what we're sharing. People don't believe you. I see this a lot in the spiritual community, especially tarot readers. They're afraid to have an opinion or share something, but that really pushes people away. People know when you're sitting on a fence. I used to sit on a fence all the time, and I used to get more criticism when I wouldn't have an opinion one way or another on something. So I wrote down, that was something that I worked on for a few months, writing down all my opinions about pretty much anything that's going on. Also, book notes as well. So of course, have your book notes. This is a timeline. I have this in my office. I have a bunch of paper on a big sheet, line straight across it, and I organize all my stories. And again, this is one of those things where you never know when you might need a story or you might need to remember something. So this is just a little thing, not really part of the knowledge base, but it's helpful. So really what we're doing is we're giving ourselves options with having a knowledge base. And when you collect this information, it allows you to create better videos. So what you're looking at here is a video about tying your shoes. and it has 4 million views on that video. So I'm pretty sure everybody here knows how to tie their shoes. And that video has 4 million views, which is crazy. But if you watch that video, he's not telling you how to tie your shoes. He is sharing his experience with tying shoes, which is completely different. If you look at a lot of the videos that are online about tying your shoes, it kind of seems like a joke, but they are all exactly the same, except for his. He has the #1 shoe tying video out there. So again, that just goes to show you the power of sharing your experience, which is underlined right there. So the next step is to dig for gold. What we want to do is find content that's already working, especially, I've been begging people lately to start their channels. I think there needs to be more spiritual content. The problem is the content structure with spiritual content. So most of the time it doesn't grab you or capture attention. And what I think we need to do as spiritual creators is look at common structures that already exist in videos that already exist. And, this is a perfect example right here. Whenever I'm looking to do a new video, I always go to YouTube and I just search whatever I'm looking to create a video on. So this video right here, I just typed in first time speaking at an event. It's my first time speaking, and I wanted to share my experience on speaking at an event. So I looked at the videos. Nothing really stood out to me. And a lot of the times when you're searching for a video or a topic to create on, you're not really going to find maybe a video that perfectly aligns with what you're wanting to talk about. So in this case, there were no good videos for first time speaking at an event. Most creators will create that video, and it's, what I've realized over time is that most of my bad ideas are the good ones. Most of my good ideas are the bad ones, right? So, you have to kind of see what people actually want. So clearly people want this video. He has almost 4 million views on 4 tips for public speaking right there. I would consider it an outlier. People always ask me as well, what do you look for when you're looking for a piece of content to kind of basically recreate? We call this stealing like an artist. And so I wouldn't steal his video, of course, but we're looking at structure. We're looking at what he's talking about, and we're going to cover this more in a second. But what I look for is an outlier piece of content. So an outlier, we get a baseline. Again, you're not whipping your calculator out here. You're just looking around for what is doing well. What's the average amount of videos or views that for a topic? And then you're looking for a video that stands out. So that video really stood out to me. And guess what? When I go home, go to the Chris Rec channel, you'll see that video probably in a couple weeks. I'm moving, so don't go there yet, but soon. So I'm going to recreate that video because it's right there. Let's see. So here's an example of structure. I'm sure you've all seen this right here, like 30-day challenges. A lot of YouTubers do it. I have a whole entire note inside my inside my knowledge base with a ton of structures. So whenever you see something that stands out to you, especially when you see something that repeats like this, like a common structure in your content, I would put that in your knowledge base if you're going to create one. Is anyone going to create a knowledge base after this? That I'm going to make sure I'm coming to everybody's room and I'm going to check on everybody and make sure. So what I would do is write down any structures that stand out. I write down title structure as well. So you can see most titles, you'll see titles repeat across multiple videos. And so I have a note for any titles. I kind of categorize them. And also shorts. So the other thing that I didn't say at the beginning is if you're creating content and you're new, a lot of people have asked about shorts. And so I think shorts or short content is great because it allows you to test more quickly. So again, you could always do a 30-day challenge as a short, for example, and do very well. So again, these are content structures. If you actually watch those 3 right there, they're shockingly similar to each other in the way that the video flows. But a little hack for everybody is you can take the transcripts from these videos to ChatGPT, and I just ask Chat to break down the structure of a video, and it will give you a little outline for your video. So that's another great way to break down the structure. And then all you do is you put your own information in there. Again, we're not copying people. People always come to me and they're like, "Oh my God, you're copying people." I'm like, "No, we're not copying. We are just using structure. That's it." So what I like to do is I like to watch the example without, thinking of anything. And then I think to myself, what would I do to make it better, but also add my own experience, which we are definitely going to hammer home in this. So I always like to also look at the comments. So a big missed opportunity, I think, for not just YouTube, but wherever you're creating your content is looking at the comments. And most of the time, especially on YouTube, you'll see people say things like, "Oh, you missed this," or "You didn't say that," or "You didn't talk about this." I always write those down in my script. I've literally had people leave comments that I'm reading their mind. It's not that I'm reading their mind. I'm just paying attention to the comments, because a lot of people say things that they are kind of like thinking, but sometimes when we're walking through a process like tying our shoes, like maybe I should start with my left foot instead of my right foot, but instead I do the video starting with my right foot, but in the comments in someone else's video, then maybe they say, I want to start with my left. So it might sound silly, but if you do that in a video, it could really make the difference, and it will lead to more comments as well. I also like to, so a couple rules, these are not down and dirty rules. I always encourage people to break the rules as well. Again, during that 4 years, there's so many things I do on all my channels that, according to the experts, don't work. So, for every example, there's going to be a rule breaker, but, just kind of some down and dirty rules. If you're doing a video, I always like to make it a little bit longer. So people always ask about length, and I consider length to be something that is majoring in the minors. Basically, it's really not important. YouTube, Instagram, they've all come out and said the most important thing that they care about is producing a quality experience. So that's the only thing I think about when I create a video, is creating a quality experience for the people that are going to watch it. And that's always in the back of my mind. But I do sometimes try to focus on length, and always like 2 minutes over, something like that is really important. I also like to, again, look at the competitors' comments. Probably, that's probably also a version of digging for gold, because a lot of those comments can be turned into full-length videos. They can be turned into shorts. Answering comments from other people with shorts is another really good, super powerful strategy. So definitely mind the comments. I also like to think, what I would do differently? Again, what you'll find is, if you do your research and you're doing a video on a topic, everybody says the same thing, because once one video takes off, everybody just copies it. And so if you have something different to share, that's probably going to be your best bet. Also, delivering faster results. The person that delivers the fastest result wins. So if you're, the competitor, if they're like 10 minutes long, but you can deliver the result in 3 minutes, then your video should be 3 minutes long. So you want to create the best experience possible. YouTube's algorithm is crazy nowadays, and it does a really good job of putting the best video up at the top, one that people are responding to. If you produce the fastest result, then people are going to respond to your videos. I also, this is a kind of like very important as well, is I like to think of the state that a person would be in when they're watching my video. And then I want to have a straight line across to a new emotional state. So you're creating a transformation when you're creating a video. And again, this works for everything, Instagram posts, anything that you're doing. And I want to come up with a emotion that they feel at the end of the video. A lot of people do not think about creating an emotional state in their video or with their content, but you should leave the people feeling something after the video. That's the only way that they will actually remember you as well. So this right here is a video, and this is, how many people have seen podcast clips? I'm sure you've all seen the podcast clips just floating around, right, all over the place on YouTube. And so this video was a video, it's done over 600,000 views now on Instagram. And what I did is I found a clip on another person's channel, and the person was talking about Greg Braden. I then went and learned from Greg Braden, and then just shared my experience in that video. So I basically took their structure, duplicated it, and it got 600,000 views. And unfortunately, I didn't keep that going. But again, when you find something like a structure that's working, you should duplicate it out as much as you possibly can. I could do that for every celebrity that exists out there. So here's another example. This on the right-hand side is from Matthew Gray. He did a newsletter, and it was 12 lessons I learned the hard way, so you don't have to. And then on the left, I did 13 lessons that I learned, so you don't have to. That video, so that article right there is going to be turned into a video. It's going to be turned into an article, newsletter, pretty much everything. And that example right there will probably be doing pretty well. It's hard for you newsletter people out there. It's hard to spy on newsletters, but what I used to spy on this was Twitter. So Matthew has a Twitter, and I went to his Twitter and I scrubbed through all his tweets, and then he posts his newsletters on Twitter, of course, and that one got a really good response. So I was like, I'm definitely gonna copy that right there. So your next step is to create your content. And by the way, I didn't say anything he did. Again, most people would just copy that and say everything he did. I said, completely different things. So have your experiences. But next step is to create. And what I like to remind people about creating is to state exactly what your video is about at the beginning. I'm sure you've all seen the videos where people get on talking about cotton candy or whatever, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, my grandma got run over last week, and I ran out of Snickers, and I didn't have a snacks, and they just go on and on and on. So you have to get straight and to the point. You have to deliver immediately with your video. I think that the best structure to follow is problem, agitate, solution. I come from the marketing world, so I had a marketing agency when I was younger. And problem, agitate, solution is you just state the problem, you agitate the problem, and then you provide the solution. And it does really, really well with YouTube videos. Also for you people doing shorts, or if you're doing shorter content, problem, agitate, solution is probably the best structure. So this is majoring in the minors. I have a group that I work together with DENT makers, and they are a bunch of content creators. And these are some of the questions that pop up all the time. I just say create, then publish. Length doesn't matter. For the rule on YouTube, everybody's like, 12 minutes, 15 minutes. But there's a guy on YouTube who has like gets 2 million views per video, and he does like 2-hour long videos. So length doesn't matter. The time of day you publish doesn't matter. Hashtags don't matter. What grandma thinks doesn't matter. And what matters is creating the best experience. So you want to make sure, again, that you're creating the best experience. All this stuff will matter. All this stuff does matter when you're getting thousands of views. And when you hit like 10,000 subs, then I would be paying attention. And all the algorithms are so good nowadays that they will tell you exactly when to post your video. So pretty much everything, YouTube, Instagram, they all tell you exactly when you should be posting. And I would just follow and stick to that as well. Like I said, for every content rule, there's a successful rule breaker out there. And the list goes on and on with that. Another big rule that I see is people will create a piece of content, but then they won't get started on their next one because they want to see how that piece of content is going to go. So immediately get started on your next piece of content. Focusing on 1% improvements with everything you create will make the biggest impact. Again, like I said, I was stuck for 4 years, 40,000 subs, and I couldn't break free from that. And so those 1% improvements, that's the only thing that I changed. And you got to, I'm now the #1 tarot reader on there. So 850 subs, 850,000. So, 1%, I did that all with 1% improvements, and, it was just that simple. I wanted to also provide you guys with some examples of things that you can do with your content. This right here is a creator, Asmongold. He created a $2 pizza recipe. It's his $2 pizza recipe. So people started cooking his $2 pizza recipe, and then he started reacting to the people that were creating his $2 pizza recipe. So, each one of those videos, I don't know if you guys can see it, but 1.2 million views. The other one has like 500,000 views, I think. And there's more than that. He did a $2 steak video as well. It was the same thing. He reacted to every single person that created his $2 steak, and it got like 2 million views. So, there's plenty of content to create. You could even probably react to that. He would probably react to you, and then you could react to the reaction. I think that would be a good idea. So there is some low-hanging fruit here as well. Answer comments from your comments. Answer the questions in shorts. There are tons of comments. Even, I think my tarot channel, I have people who will ask me about like Sun, Moon, Rising. I have a video about it, but they can't find it. So I've always been thinking about, how can I create content like that? And, something like that, by the way, for all you spiritual people, if you have a question like that, I would create it over and over and over again. There's no reason with a short that you can't create it more than once. So, people are worried about duplicate content, but any winners that I have, I recreate. So I always redo them. I look at the video, I think about what I have to cut out or what I could add back in. Sometimes I another crazy idea I have that I will share with everybody is kind of promoting 2 different perspectives. So like doing a video 1 month about a certain perspective, and then like 6 months later, give the opposite perspective just to, trigger people. But, triggering people gets you comments, which is exactly what you need to do, especially on YouTube. So just giving the whole opposite. I could go on and on with that. By the way, I make mistakes in my videos all the time. Mistakes are not a bad thing. You want the mistakes. You get comments. For you podcasters out there, also creating shorts, I see, again, we talked about the clips channels. YouTube recently came out and said they don't necessarily want people just kind of repurposing content like that anymore. I have a sneaking suspicion that they're going to kind of crack down on clips and clip channels. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, because you'll probably still be able to put clips out there and they still get watched. My goal this year starting after I move in like July, is to create 20,000 pieces of content. And so the way that we're going to do that, me and my team, is we're taking clips and we're editing them in different ways. We're kind of taking the same clip and twisting it around. We're doing all this crazy stuff so that we can, get 20,000 pieces of content out in a year. But what I would say is that with the podcast shorts, I think it would be better. And, kind of here's a little secret for everybody as well. So listen up. But I would get on there and I would say something like whoever your guest is, I would state their name and I would say, so-and-so taught me. I saw years ago, thinking back to my little knowledge base there, I saw a kid who did a video where he said, I think it was Jordan Peterson, but he said, Jordan Peterson taught me. But the way he said it sounded like Jordan Peterson taught him something. But that wasn't the case. He just read Jordan Peterson's book and repeated what he was saying. But it was like such a good hook. So I started thinking about that hook. But with a podcast, that's what I would do. Interview big names, think about what they said to you that stood out, and then create a short where you say, this person, this person taught me, whatever, and then just say what they taught you. Then you're not creating duplicate content when you do that. You're not necessarily clipping it. You're kind of creating a new, fresh piece of content. You could also say something that you disagree with your guest on. I think that would do well. I think also just, kind of adding something to it. I think also people underestimate you associating yourself with like a bigger name as well. So if you say, in my Greg Braden video, I said Greg Braden taught me, that was my hook for that video. And so it's like, now I can be associated, with that name. So I encourage all you podcast people to think about that. And my time is up, by the way. All right. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.